Welcome to Tapped In. My name is David Figueroa-Martinez of DFM Coaching, and today we're going to be discussing close guard. I play close guard relatively often depending on who I'm sparring with. Close guard in general, it is when my opponent is on their knees and my legs are wrapped around their waist, I'm on my back, and my ankles are crossed. There isn't, unlike other positions where you're like a specific guard that's super complicated and you're showing like all your hands got to do this. And the basic structure of close guard is really simple. My legs are around your waist and my ankles are locked. That is the basic version of it. Now, there are things that my hands are going to start to do, things that my legs are going to start to do, things that my hips are going to start to do that can complicate what this looks like. So if we're going to review this, when my opponent is in close guard, I need their posture to be broken in some form or fashion. That's going to look different based on how I decide to break that posture down. My knees being pulled in can help break the posture. My grips on the collar or the neck can also help break the posture. If my opponent is pressing against my hips or ribcage with their hands and I grab the outside of their elbows and I pull outward, then pull in with my knees, that can also break the posture. The best type of close guard is going to be represented by how close I can get them to my chest. If they are postured up, specifically if they're even more so if they're tall, my attacks are going to look different and the percentage of success probably goes down the further their posture gets. I want to break their posture as often and as easily as possible. Early on, depending on the gym that you're at, you're going to learn pull with your knees, pull down with their collar, pull at the elbows, and that will generally get a good percentage of the people that you put in close guard. What I've learned is there's an old school method of angling or activating your hips, whether you're on the person on top or the person on bottom, that can make or break this game that we're going to be playing when it comes to breaking the posture. I did not learn this, unfortunately, until April of this past year. I don't know why I did not learn this. I don't know why it was not focused. No clue. I have no clue why I didn't know this. Literally 14 years in, I'm a black belt. I didn't learn this till April. We can do all the other things that we're doing. We can play this game of like pulling with our knees, and when our opponent starts putting our hands on our bodies, we can swim them out, and once they touch the mat, then we can start attacking and getting the grips or creating angles or hip bump. All these things are great in doing that. But something that has really helped, and I'm a little annoyed that I just learned this, is activating your hips. When you're on your back, you naturally have a little bit of a curve to the lower back region. If you're unsure of this, put someone in that position, to put two friends in that position, and then slide your hand through the lower back of the person on the bottom. You'll naturally feel a curve. That is just the way our bodies generally sit when we lay down. It's probably why some people like a little bit of lumbar support when they sleep on their backs, which is just a natural occurrence of our bodies. When there's a gap between the mat and our lower back, it forces us to have to use more strength with our knees, legs, and arms to bring our opponent down. What I learned in April, and again, I'm annoyed, was that if I flatten that region, my hips angle towards my head a little bit differently. The way Old Bastard, and you can find him on Instagram, and he's been on BJJ Mental Models plenty of times. The way he explained it during his seminar was, for the guys, imagine that you're trying to pee on the ceiling. He was describing this from either bottom or top. At the time when he said this, I think he was mentioning it from top. When your opponent has you in their close guard, shift your lower back out a little bit and turn your hips slightly, and it engages your balance and your body in a way that it makes it hard for you to be pulled down. And if you're on your back with your guard closed, it makes it easier to pull them in. When I started doing this, I laughed because it was so ingenious and yet so simple. I didn't understand how this wasn't part of my game already. So you can grab a partner. Don't you worry about your hands. Don't worry about necessarily pulling in with your knees. Just flatten out your back, tilt your hips towards your belt knot or your belly button, and see what that does to their back. It changes it drastically. And now there's a game of they can start doing the same thing and it kind of nullifies, or you have to do certain things to create more off balancing. But just adding that wrinkle has allowed me to garner more collar choke attempts, more off balancing, and more omoplata kimura attacks because they're coming forward. And when they come forward, they want to plant their hands on my body. And when they plant, I move their hands out of the way and I can start attacking the things that I want while they are chest to chest to me. It is a key detail that many of us were not taught. So if you're going to add this to your game, your closed guard attacks, sweeps are going to change because you'll have an easier time of moving their weight and channeling the off-balancing attacks that you need in order to do the things that you want to do to begin with. That is the massive key detail. Once I get them to that position, I do not want them to posture back up, at least not past a certain point. I don't want them to be straight up. Straight up makes everything else harder for me. So once I can off balance and I can drive them to my chest, sometimes I hug like a seatbelt grip over the top of their lower back. I'll have one underhook and then one arm over the top, and I hold them in place. This gives me shoulder clamp. This gives me the ability to scoop my hips out and maybe go to half or butterfly if I choose to. This allows me to start attacking. Maybe I hold them in place, and with my underhook arm that's clamped over their shoulder, I hold. Sometimes I grab my own gi top and I make myself weighted, and I start sneaking my hand into the collar. I can start now generating collar chokes from that distance, buying myself more time to get to the choking mechanisms that I need. I also like to do that position and then start angling myself off so I can attack omoplatas, kimuras from time to time. You can do the same and get an overhook after you've broken them down. Get an overhook with your, let's say, your right arm. And you can start attacking chokes with that overhook. You can start attacking omoplata with the overhook, triangle. You can start attacking some arm bars. So keeping them postured broken down is going to do a lot for you, and it's going to buy you more time to do the things that you really want to do. You cannot attack successfully or with a high percentage if they're postured up. So your first thing that you want to do is just break the posture. If you start losing the posture, then hip bump sweeps become available. Some other things open up for you, but it becomes a timing thing at that stage. If they get up before you do, you sort of lose it. So you're going to play a little bit of a game there. It's really important to break the posture, control the head. There's going to be a little bit of a grip battle at times. I tend to like using 2-on-1 grips. So when they posture up and they place their hands on my chest or rib cage, I get a cross grip on the sleeve, and then my other arm gets a grip either behind where the arm part, the back of the tricep along the seam, or there's like a webbing right around the armpit area. I get that grip, and then I'll bridge just enough to move the hands, and I'll drag them across. And once they're across, I can start taking the back. I can do a sweep off of that. I can change a lot of the things that maybe had benefited them from posturing up into my game from that spot. There's a ton you can do, but everything is predicated for the most part off of breaking the posture of your opponent. Things that I think become an issue, or let me backtrack. Things that are also a benefit from this position are you limit severely their movement. Let's say we're playing half or butterfly or one of these guards that are more open. Once they break contact with maybe one side, if it's half guard, once they start to move to the open side, you can lose track of your opponent and they can start to use speed and strength, and it can become a little bit of a headache. The benefit of closed guard is that they have to open your guard before they can ever pass. There is no passing from the closed guard. None. It does not happen until your guard is open. So they have to work to open that guard. Some people will try to do that from their knees, which is not advisable. And other people will try to stand. And the standing creates enough torque or pressure on the crossed ankles that it's harder to maintain. And you have to work to either break them back down or go into a open guard that you like playing. In those events where I feel that my guard is starting to get broken, I have to choose where I'm going to go next before he chooses for me. He or she. I cannot sit in this position and they're angling their hips a certain way and I can feel my guard starting to split open and I can't maintain a grip on the ankles quite right. And then it opens and then decide where I want to go. Because by the time that's happened, he's getting the grips that he wants to now advance past the guard. I'm a step or two behind by that point. I have to decide that if I'm losing this battle, I'm going to open that guard on my accord and I'm going to go right into whatever guard type or attack that I feel I'm going to have more high percentage effect with. So if they, let's say, they stand up in the guard and their height is creating too much issues for me, I can open and fall into, oftentimes, De La Riva. I can fall into maybe butterfly and then quickly transition to X guard or single leg X. Or I can keep it really simple and grab the back of both of their ankles, open my guard, and push them back with my legs. So there's quite a bit I can do, but I have to be first. I can't let him or her lead that battle and then expect to win it. They're just going to be a step ahead of me. If they are on their knees and they start to angle themselves, like sometimes some people will put a knee right in the crevice of your behind, and then they'll angle back. So let's say their right knee's right in the middle of your ass, and their left knee is wide. They're now positioned in a way that they can angle and create pressure on your crossed ankles and force them open. The minute that starts to happen, recenter yourself with your belt knot. So if they've put a knee between, start hopping off of that knee and then recenter. You can get grips on the sleeves, you can get grips on the collar, whichever it is, and then recenter back to the traditional close guard that you are aware of with both of their knees on the side of your hips. Be active with this. Be active with your hand fighting. Be active with the grips that you want to maintain. Have a game plan from here. If you're a cross-collar choke type person, there's plenty of opportunity for that. There's opportunities for the triangle, the omoplata, the hip bump sweep. You just have to be aware and be more ahead of the game and be first. This is to this guard. If there's a massive size difference, you may not be able to close your guard. If you're able to close the guard, you may not be able to close it for long periods of time. You have to be aware of this. Sometimes I play what I call a modified close guard. It's not a guard, an open guard of some other type that we can name. It's my legs being as close together as possible, but they're still around the legs, around the hips. And sometimes I angle my toes in and I kind of squeeze just slightly. It is not a close guard. It is a version of open guard, but I don't know a name for it. And that buys me a little bit of time. Sometimes I could sit there and I could squeeze my knees and just kind of hold the position. It's not ideal. It's not, especially against a bigger person, it's not the thing that I want to do, but it helps out in that stage. Sometimes people become really static here and they kind of hang out, they catch their breath, they sit too long, they don't create attacking opportunities, and they let their opponent stand, for example. Anytime my opponent's starting to stand, I'm pulling with the knees. I'm off balancing. I used to roll with this guy, Robert. He's at Atos now. He's a little shorter than me. I absolutely hated his close guard. He just had this ability of constantly off balancing, and I just couldn't open his close guard at all. He had these strong legs. Every time I tried to open or pry them open or create an angle, he pulled me in, and I was just always off balance. That's the kind of guard you want to have, constantly active. You don't have to open until you're ready, but you have to be active in pulling, pushing, angling, getting grips, threatening with something. And he only opened when he felt he was ready. Sometimes it was so bad for me that I would allow him to hip bump me and try to take me over just so I can have an opportunity or a window in that spot where he opened his legs that I can frame and try to get back out. I don't recommend it, but that's what I had to do with that kind of a guard player. That's how active you need to be. You have to be not relentless per se. You can go at a speed that's better for you. You just have to be active. Some things that I think of are really beneficial from there when it comes to techniques, like I mentioned, the armbar, triangle choke, various collar chokes, loop choke is great from there. With the loop choke, you probably do open up slightly, whatever. Kimura is there, hip bump sweep. There's a guillotine from there. There's Ezekiel choke from there. There are things that you can do with the gi top where you punch it through under the armpit, and the arm that's over the shoulder, you can grab that to hold them in place. You can use that to set up chokes. It leads into other positions. Like, let's say I use the closed guard as a pit stop to something else. We can do that. We can use it just to, I wait for them to stand, and then from there I open up to do something else. Also possibilities. The sweeps, again, like I mentioned, hip bump sweep, flower sweep, scissor sweep, collar drag, arm drag, that double ankle pushback when they stand. It's pretty versatile. You just have to be patient and active. When you open up to these positions, you're no longer technically in a closed guard. But again, you can use this positions transitionally and get into the things that you really want to do. The biggest takeaway that I want from people from this position is this is where you can slow the action down. Half guard, I do that also from that position, but closed guard is really a good place because both of your legs are around the waist. You have to beat your legs in order to get past. And it's a long distance to get to that position, more often than not. Your goal in this position is sometimes to just catch your breath, start being active with your legs, slow the action down, limit the movement forward or back. They have to carry you. They have to open the guard in order to get the things that they want. There are few submissions that they can hit from there. Although if you're in MMA or self-defense, it's not a great position if you're going to let them posture up and punch. So again, everything's predicated on breaking the posture and hugging them or getting really close to them. It negates the punches from MMA and self-defense aspect, but also in jiu-jitsu, it opens up some of the submissions and sweeps that you want to start taking advantage of. Understand that this is great when you want to slow things down and kind of truncate the possible options that your opponent can do. There is a can opener that is probably illegal in most gyms and most competitions, where they grab the back of your head, kind of like a tie plum, and they yank in. There is an Ezekiel that they can do when they go chest to chest that you have to be aware of. If you're not aware of it, it can be very sneaky. But there aren't a ton of submissions that they can do from here. So it's a safe place in that sense, but it can feel a little complicated. If you have any questions about this or anything else, please hit me up, dfm.2099 on Instagram and Threads. If you'd like to work with me, I do a lot of remote coaching, seminars, workshops, private lessons. Please hit me up. Also, I have a free community on School, SKOOL, DFM Coaching, BJ. It's completely free. I have videos, all my workshops end up on there. I keep my workshop dates on there. And if you ever have any questions, you can always reach out to me through that. And I'm willing to answer. I love answering questions. So any help, any questions, any concerns, hit me up. Until next time, thank you so much.